human and wildlife interactions, or urban wildlife part 1, take 2 for me, since I deleted it the first time. So first we're going to review what humans do to wildlife, right? We hunt them, harvest them, take away their homes, habitat destruction, introduce predators, we take away their grazing land with putting our livestock in their place, we dig up their land, lots of things we do. So where's the conflict? Well, there's different than just the human side of it, of what we do to them. The conflict side of it is when humans and wildlife come together and we start to experience problems because they're too close to us. We start to get sick from them. We get in car accidents because of them. Our human population is in conflict with their populations of whatever species this is. And the reality is the humans tend to be the ones that end up causing problems to the wildlife, even though it may start off as, well, you know, the deer population is ruining our cars and causing car accidents. We then decimate the deer. So what kind of drives this conflict? Well, our population is too large. We're growing. We change how we're using the land, right? And we're taking away more of their space. We change how their land is broken up with streets and roads, and we don't allow for connection from one section to another. We then add livestock because many humans, we eat meat, and our herbivores that we consume need land to grow on and eat. We add predators, feral cats, loose stray dogs, rat populations come and go with us. We release our parakeet in Florida and they create their own population. Then the climate is changing, both naturally and probably accelerated because of humans, changing that seasonal temperatures and rainfall. So how do we know that there's conflict? There's several things that we see that start to tell us that there is this human-wildlife conflict. One of those is that we see the distribution of the species changing, and that's in direct reaction to where the humans have changed their location. We see a change in the actual quantity, increase or decrease, of that wildlife population. We see trends that used to exist become new and different trends. So we might have historically graphed the change in population of deer in New Jersey for 100 years, and now the last 10 years, let's say, they had changed. That's a population trend that's changing. We see a difference in the diversity of species. Now remember, abundance is like the quantity, but the diversity is how many different types of species are there. You could have a Christmas tree farm, quote unquote, right? And it's probably like the same 2 species of trees. Or you could have a forest in South Jersey and there's going to be 10, 15 different types of trees in various sizes, ages, and stages. So we see a diversity change. We see the type of species present moving towards those that are generally human successful, are urban specialists becoming more prominent, and maybe those that are urban avoiders kind of becoming less and less prominent. So the actual makeup, which is very similar to species richness, which is that changing in the diversity of that species population and moving towards species that are less sensitive to humans and kind of removing the species that are sensitive. Okay, those urban avoiders tend to be good examples of that. Opportunistic species becoming more plentiful in species quantity or richness. So what do we do to get rid of them? Or what do we do to change this conflict? The first choice is get rid of them, I should say. All right? Oftentimes, the public just wants to lethally remove the problem. But that's probably not always the best choice. We know that through better planning of our land use, and through education of the public that we can reduce that conflict and we can create a more harmonious species diverse area that still has humans. So what are some of these issues that come up in management and areas that we look to do? Okay. Well, the first issue in managing wildlife is humans moving around. Urbanization, urban sprawl. Right? We know that we've had this trend to move out of cities and to claim new areas of land for ourselves, and that our population keeps growing. That's what these graphs are telling us. We're becoming more and more balanced between urban and rural and moving out, and our population is increasing. So generally, most of us live in an urban area, okay, or suburban, right? Most of us are not out in this rural 3% area, or I'm sorry, the majority of it here. But it doesn't mean we don't have a big impact as an urbanized area, and this light depiction kind of shows those impacts. So what ends up happening as we spread out and become more urban and take up more land, we start to change how nutrients are cycled, how water runs off, how habitats go through succession and naturally because we've changed fires and suppressed them. And we create this whole new landscape for organisms to have to figure out how to survive in. And some of them are really good at it. Some of them thrive in our urban and suburban areas. Those are usually our generalist species and our species that we now consider nuisance, a problem, right? They're the ones we're coming in contact with because they seem to do just fine even though we put a house there and a car there and mowed our lawn and added fencing. So we kind of look at three categories of wildlife. We have the urban avoiders, who we build a town, a development, they are like out of here. You're not seeing them anymore. They might have been there before, they're not now. Our urban adapters, they're making do. They're not increasing in population size, but they're kind of okay. And our urban specialists, who move right in right next to you and kind of wave, hi neighbor, welcome to the area, and they don't care. They're like, yeah, you're here, I'm here too. Groundhog. Okay, groundhogs just seem to move right into my area. They are fine. They don't care that I live there. They run from me, but they don't care that they're under the garage. Okay. So urban adapters, groundhog, deer. Even turkey, now that we're not hunting them, they're doing well, right? They have popped right back into suburban neighborhoods. But deer, as an example, because they're so big, when they do hit our car, we get that conflict. Birds. This is why I gave you a bird observation assignment, and you'll probably have another one at some point, because they are oftentimes, not all, but many, successful at moving into and being at least urban adapters, right? Making do. And so that's what we look at. If they are a generalist type of a bird,